so much for being here. This, just real quick, this is just an informal, this is not an organization, so to speak, but I've been, planning these kind of quarterly, maybe every 4 months, networking breakfasts, and we started adding in speakers pretty much starting the last event. So this is hands down the most well-attended, I would say well-organized, kind of getting things together. So thank you guys for making this such an amazing morning and for being here. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Ben, who is our feature presenter this morning. Ben Marcel is the founder and CEO of Toropath Technologies, which he founded in 2007. He leads his team on the company's mission to provide the best technology experience for companies in the greater Baton Rouge area through managed IT and digital marketing services. I'm a client, they're amazing. Ben is also one of the franchise location owners for Code Ninjas Baton Rouge, where they teach kids 7 to 14 how to code by building video games. It's really awesome. Ben was adopted from Taiwan at an early age and grew up in Homa.
Not from here.
Homa. I got it. Homa. Sorry, guys. He left after his sophomore year of high school to attend the Louisiana School for Math, Science, and the Arts in
Natchitoches. I should have put the phonetic pronunciations, right?
Then moved to Baton Rouge to attend LSU. Ben has lived in Ascension Parish for the past 17 years and has been married for 15 years to his wife, Lauren. They have 3 children, ages 6, 12, and 18. Their oldest is recently graduated from Dutchtown High School as valedictorian and received an associate's degree from River Parishes Community College through an early college option program. Since starting Toropath Technologies 15 years ago, he has been driven to make his mark on the local business community, primarily through his giver's mentality. Because he has been fortunate to have amazing business mentors, Ben enjoys helping other business owners in any way possible. He joined a BNI chapter in 2011 to help him grow his business and learn that giving referrals to others was a fulfilling passion. He now serves on the regional leadership team for BNI to assist other chapters and their members on how to find success through referral marketing. Ben is also always looking for ways to improve his skill set. In 2018, he completed the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program, where he developed a growth plan for his business. Supporting nonprofit organizations is another passion for Ben. Each year, he raises awareness and funds for a local nonprofit through his marathon and half marathon races. He also serves as a board member for the Louisiana School for Math, Science, and the Arts Foundation. Although he is modest in his accomplishments, they don't go unnoticed. In 2020, he was recognized as a Baton Rouge Business Report 40 Under 40 honoree. That's how I describe you, and I didn't even know you were a recipient, so it makes sense. With the little free time he has, Ben enjoys spending time with his family, especially helping coach his son's baseball team, cooking, usually barbecuing or boiling seafood, and playing golf. Ben feels that his mission in life is to find opportunities to help others, integrating technology to improve efficiency and effectiveness, consistently networking to connect people and foster growth, promoting mental hygiene to create wellness and resiliency, and exhibiting philanthropy to provide support, awareness, and funds to help others fulfill their mission are the 4 areas Ben believes to be important for his continued growth. And without further ado.
All right, thank you, Aisha. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me talk. That's an honor in itself. First, we'll start with a little bit of housekeeping. I wasn't prepared for the TV not working, so I had to run to my house and grab the one off my back patio and set it up. Because this presentation, like the PowerPoint, is a really important part of me talking. So just a little bit of housekeeping first. Does anybody need to run out of here like right at 10? So I can go over maybe like 10:15 or so. Give me a little extra time to get some good stuff in. Awesome. Second, I'm recording this. If you haven't noticed, the camera's in the back and the microphone on me, which feels weird. My goal in life, I think, is to help spread the word about mental wellness, especially in the business community. So I want to start documenting this. Any of y'all like Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V? Yeah, so I'm like starting to create all this content. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to do something with it. So we're recording this. if you would prefer you not to be on social media or online for some reason, just shoot me a message after so that I know not to use, your image if you're in a crowd shot or something in anything that I do. Lastly, if you could, take out your phone, and if you have an iPhone, I don't know how to do it on Android, put it in Do Not Disturb or Focus mode. On iPhone, you swipe down from the top right, you hit Focus and then Do Not Disturb, and that's gonna like silence everything on your phone. Put your phones away. Take this next 30 minutes or so to focus on yourself and your mental well-being. The emails and phone calls that come in during that time can wait 30 minutes. Even if it's your best client and something is on complete fire, it'll be okay that you call them back in 30 minutes, I promise. So with that, we'll kind of move into it. And I'm thankful I put this slide in. Something that I did before a seminar one time when I presented on mental wellness, where the person hosting did a little mindful breathing exercise. And I could sure use this after having to set up this TV, and it's still kind of having a little bit of issues, but we're going to work through it. I'm waiting for this one to just pop on randomly at some point while I'm talking. So just take a moment. We're going to take 3 deep breaths with a slow exhale and think about a positive thought. So like 1. Like today is going to be a great day. 2, I'm excited to focus on my mental well-being. And 3, I will do my best to work on one of the consistent stress factors in my life. How's that feel? Everybody like kind of ready to learn more about this now? And full disclosure, I am not a licensed therapist. That's this guy over here. So I'm just sharing with you my journey when it comes to mental wellness and the steps that I've taken to make sure I maintain, balance in my life. I've always had a passion for entrepreneurship. Aisha just kind of talked about a lot of my accomplishments in life and in business, and I'm super proud of it. I got kind of emotional like listening to it, and I wrote it myself. But I've always been passionate to be an entrepreneur. At an early age, my first business I started, I think I was 14 or 15, right, Mom? And it was when the internet just came out. You still had dial-up. Do you hear that little modem noise? And I opened a business teaching teachers and business professionals in Houma how to use the internet. What a cool idea, huh? And then I went on to Louisiana school and everything. So that business obviously doesn't exist anymore, although we still help with that to some degree with TourPath Technologies at times. It's all about like, how did I want to be successful? It was that desire for success. It was about unlocking opportunity. At an early age, I was given a great opportunity by being adopted. Come and live in the States, getting a great life here. So I always thought that opportunity was going to present itself to me, and I always wanted to unlock that opportunity and seize the moment, as they say, to achieve success, but also to help others achieve success. And I'm constantly redefining what success looks like. Now, being an entrepreneur isn't always easy. You see the people on social media, on the Facebook reels that are talking about like how much money they have in their bank account and everything, and they seem all happy, but entrepreneurship is kind of tough. If you're a high-level business professional, it's kind of tough. You have a lot of pressure on yourself to be successful, to hit your goals either for the company that you lead or the company that you work for. And then March 13th, 2020 happens, right? I think everybody can think about that day. Everybody has a pandemic shutdown story. I think it's important for us to be able to articulate that story and communicate that with others and talk to people about it, because that was a lot of stress that we went under. For me, I had been working for almost 2 years on starting a new business called Code Ninjas, teaching kids how to code by building video games. And the weeks leading up to March 13th, we're building out this awesome facility for these kids to come and sit closer than 6 feet apart to come learn how to code. So we're ramping up and we're making sure everything is in perfect order so that we can welcome these kids into our dojo, is what we call it, right? And this is how it turned out. It turned out pretty awesome, Great place for kids to come and learn a really neat skill that's going to take them very far into the future. But then we get our call from headquarters at 10 a.m. March 13th, 2020, and they say, y'all have been approved to open your doors. Yes! And then the governor comes on the news at noon, and he's like, we're shutting down all the schools till Easter. You know how that all worked out. So we really had to kind of figure out like how we're going to close and just kind of push this opening back. Where the heck do we find toilet paper right now? Where do we find hand soap and hand sanitizer? It's like people are scavenging the stores, like getting everything off the shelves, and it's just this weird activity going on. And meanwhile, the streets around the world are clearing out. It's kind of an emotional picture if you look at it. Like it's New York City, one of the busiest cities in the world. And it's just empty. We all had to go in our homes and kind of lay low so we could flatten the curve for 2 weeks, right? Wow. March 17, 2020, I remember sitting down with my team at my office and saying, hey, we got to be kind of ahead of things. Let's transition to work from home. Thankfully, we had the awesome technology in place. We sent half of our team home to get set up. Here's a picture of me set up above my garage in my little home office at the house. We sent half of our team home. Once they were set up and ready to work, we sent our other half of the team home. We were transitioned fully to work from home in about 2.5 hours, just because of all the cool technology that we have in place. So then we started saying, how do we run this company during a pandemic? I mean, how will I maintain my revenue, my business? That's like one of the biggest uncertainties as a business owner or a high-level business professional or a sales professional. How will my team perform while they're struggling to figure it out on their own with their own family at their houses? You know, these are all the things that we were starting to internalize. Well, what are our clients going to do? Hello, come on in. Hi. Welcome. Find a seat somewhere. You're good. We're easy going here. What are my clients going to do? And that was one reason why we wanted to transition to work from home early. All of our clients started calling us from the IT side saying, oh, we need to transition from work from home. What do we need to do to make that happen? We were prepared to help them with that. So we're prepared to help our clients. But they're going through the same stress as us. What else can I be doing during this time? Like sales, operations, billing, invoices, accounts receivable, accounts payable. Those are all the things that we think about on a normal day. And now we have to rethink, how are we going to work through all this during a global shutdown?
You should have hired a bunch of dyslexics.
Yeah. So I remember working and trying to figure all this stuff out. And I would get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and hop on Zoom calls with my team, hop on Zoom calls with clients or partners and vendors so we could all try to figure this out together. I worked throughout the day, pretty much back-to-back Zoom calls. Y'all know how that was during the shutdown. And then 5 o'clock or so, I would come down the stairs, I'd grab a beer, or maybe go for a run first, then grab a beer, go cook some food, hang out with the kids, grab a couple more beers. All the kids in the family went to sleep, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I need to go back to work. So, and that was like the worst part about like working from home is how easy it was to get back to work since my office was just right there up the stairs. And I found myself, I started to stress work. It was like working just for the sake of working. Did anybody go through that? It's like, let me just continue working. I don't know what's going on. I'm just stressed out and want to try to figure things out. And I just started stress working, but was I really being productive? And I realized later on that I wasn't. So I started to do different things, you know, to try to get some balance, even though work was at home now, right? And I found this is great. There's going to be a lot of Twitter memes in here, by the way, but I think it really kind of hits home. I saved these in my phone. We need to stop glamorizing overworking, please. The absence of sleep, good diet, exercise, relaxation, and time with friends and family shouldn't be applauded. Too many people wear that burnout as a badge of honor, and it needs to change. So I started doing things like binge watching The Wire or The Sopranos or whatever else I could find on Netflix. I started playing these little like tycoon games on my phone where I'd have to go back every 30 minutes so I could like accomplish the next thing. So I found a little bit of balance to try to help alleviate the whole stress work part of things, and it really helped. So exactly 3 months later, we returned to the office. June 17, 2020, we returned to the office and we're like, still like, what's now? What's going to happen now? We're still in this time of uncertainty. Most people continue to work from home for a while. And I really started to try to process, like, what is all this stress about? And I finally figured out, I had this trigger moment, right? If you have this trigger moment, sometimes it can be bad, right? Sometimes it could be something really stressful that will cause you to have a panic attack, or the music in the room to randomly come on. Like they already know that I've already gone through picking up this TV from my house to do this presentation. So I started to feel this burnout, and I felt like something was going to happen if I didn't address it. I wanted to get out in front of it. I wanted to be proactive. In the IT world, we try to be as proactive as possible with things, right? So I wanted to address things before it got bad. And I thought to myself, when was the last time I took a full week off of work? And this was probably in like August of 2020, I thought about this. And I was like, oh yeah, I went to Disney, the happiest, busiest, craziest place on earth to take your family to relax. And that was Thanksgiving week as well in 2019. So it had been almost a year since I had taken a full week off, and I was starting to feel this burnout. And I felt like I needed help. And I remember I was watching all these TV shows, and I was watching The Sopranos, and this really came to mind where I saw this interaction between Tony Soprano, a mob boss, and his therapist. And if he could talk about all the things that goes along with being a mob boss, I could go and talk to a therapist about all the things that go along with being an entrepreneur. So I reached out to somebody in that industry, and I asked her some questions. I said, do you know some people who would be able to help me? And she pointed me in the right direction. I remember doing some phone interviews, and I was trying to narrow it down. I created a list of questions. I tried to set goals. How often do I need to meet with this person? What kind of things will we be talking about? How much is this going to cost? How do we set my goals and measure my goals? And I was going through these questions with people. The first person actually never called me back. That was weird. Second person I talked with for a little bit. And the third person, I talked with him. Doug is here. And I hope you don't mind me sharing that we visit with each other. And one of the questions that I asked is, have you ever worked with entrepreneurs before? And nobody really answered yes to that. And Doug says, but wait a minute, I'm an entrepreneur. I go through the same stuff that you go through. I think I can really help you. So I had picked a week where I was going to completely disconnect. I just went on the calendar. I said, second week in September, I'm taking a week off. And I picked that week. And I scheduled my first meeting with Doug the week before so that I could go into that week as prepared as possible to really reset and recharge and focus on my mental well-being. I set some goals for that week, and I call it the disconnect week. And I'm starting to do this every year as well. And it's not going on vacation. Like, the other cool thing was I had a pool being built in my backyard that week that was supposed to be completed, so I wanted to be able to enjoy that as well. But I set some goals for myself. First, I wanted to set expectations with everybody that I'm going off the grid, basically. I am not going to be reachable. And I started doing this weeks before. And we started to put things in place to where, if this happens, why don't you try this? Or if this happens and you don't know the answer, ask this person. The things that I would normally have to do as a business owner, I was trying to kind of delegate that or help people at my office figure out where they might be able to find that information to answer their questions without having to rely on me. I started to focus on what else am I going to do? I'm going to turn off my email. I'm going to log off of social media. I logged off of Facebook for an entire week, believe it or not, and even went 2 more weeks beyond that. I was so surprised at myself. But I really wanted to reduce distraction in my life. I also ended my relationship with tiger droppings. Has anybody ever been on that website? That is a time drain of a website and mental drain too. So I've never visited it again. So don't go there if you don't know what it is. You're going to get sucked in. But I ended my relationship with tiger droppings. I should have a badge for that, right? And then my other goal was to read this book, Deep Work, which I actually have a copy here that we're going to give to somebody here today. Deep Work by Cal Newport is a great book. It talks about increasing focus, reducing distraction, and the science behind it. It's kind of technical beginning part of it. It's kind of a difficult read. It talks a lot about psychological studies on focus and distraction, but it really sets the precedence for the strategies and tactics that he lays out later on in the book. The funny part about this is one of my employees recommended this book to me. And I went back and looked, it'd been sitting on my nightstand. I went back and looked at when I bought it. And I bought it in October of 2018. So this book on time management and focus and distraction, I just hadn't set aside the time to read. It was sitting there on my nightstand. So that was one of my goals, was to read this book. And I started to develop new goals, better goals. How can I maintain this balance in my life? How can I be more productive? Because stress working is not productive. The cool thing about COVID and the pandemic and the shutdown is hopefully people have started to realize that productivity does not necessarily mean or equate to the number of hours you sit at a desk at your physical office, right? So it's opened our eyes to a lot of different things. And meeting with Doug on a regular basis, we started to set these goals. And I think one of the biggest ones was to set better boundaries. That was a big one for me to work on too. You know, and I started it first by looking at my calendar. So this is one of my days in April of 2020 where we basically, from that 8:30 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I am jam-packed with meetings. My calendar became a constant Zoom meeting. And I would joke about it, but it's serious. I couldn't even complete the work that we were talking about during these meetings because I was always stuck in meetings. So I really had to figure out, how can I work my schedule better and set better boundaries there? One thing I did is I talked to my team. I was like, hey, I need at least like a 15-minute buffer between meetings to help me transition from one topic to another. You know, like, let's create these gaps, these better gaps, so that our brain can reset and be fully focused for the next task at hand. So I looked at technology too. How can I integrate technology? And one thing that I really love is Calendly. Any of you use Calendly in here? A couple of y'all, or any other scheduling tool? Calendly is a really neat tool that allows you to set meeting types and send links to people so that they can see your real-time availability. But the best part is you can set boundaries in it. So how do we automate that, right? So this is like my Calendly page, and these are the different type of calendar events I have, like a quick call, that's a 15-minute call. They can pick phone call or Zoom, and it's got some buffers in it. I've got a 30-minute Zoom meeting, a 60-minute Zoom meeting, a 30-minute in-person meeting, a 60-minute in-person meeting. I've segmented out the types of meetings that I have with people, and I've built that out all in Calendly. I even have a lunch meeting, Calendly. So this is what it looks like. I've set the boundaries to where I don't want any meetings to start before 9 o'clock. I'm not a morning person, y'all. Like, I'm glad this wasn't at 7 a.m. because I would have really been stressed when this TV wasn't working. Yeah. But I also like to kind of focus on a few things. Well, we'll talk about routines in a moment, but I like to knock out a few things before I have to jump into meetings. That's extremely important for me to set the pace for my day. So I have this set from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. and then 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and then 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Friday. And that Friday is intentional because maybe I want to go play golf sometimes in the afternoon on Friday. Or maybe I have to get to something, you know, we're going out of town or whatnot. Or I'll maybe want to finish off my week strong and knock out a few things to close out my week at my office. So it gives me the flexibility to be able to do that, and I've built that into the hours in the calendar here. Here's the buffers. So most of my events I can't have an event that starts within 30 minutes of another event, ends before another event starts, and then I can't have it starting within 30 minutes of another event ending. So I'm always creating that 30-minute buffer, and that's been great because if I do a 30-minute Zoom call and the conversation's going great and I have a 30-minute window between that and the next thing, it's okay if that meeting goes over for 10 or 15 minutes. So creating those buffers are really important. Boundaries. People can't schedule meetings with me using these links within 12 hours of that meeting happening, which is usually going to be the next business day, right? So 8 o'clock this morning, nobody can schedule for 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. I don't even do 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. So you can set these parameters. I like this one, maximum allowed events per day for this type of event. If you have, let's say, you do a planning meeting with your clients on an annual basis, and it takes a lot of preparation, and there's a lot of discussion that happens in that meeting, and it takes a lot of brain power and energy, you may only want to do one of those a day. So you can set limits on the maximum amount of the certain type of event per day. And I've used that sometimes. So by putting these boundaries in place, my calendar started to look more like this. I've got these white spaces between my events. And then if I want to work on something, I can add something in there to time block and know that that's something that I want to focus on during that time. This definitely helps you manage your calendar better, and it helps you time block better, which is something that Cal Newport talks a lot about in Deep Work. This is my lunch calendar from 11 to 1:30, Monday through Friday. And that's really helped to schedule lunch meetings. I always ask, where do you want to go eat lunch? That's a cool question. Usually it's you pick. I don't know, I guess people like my food recommendations. One thing I'd recommend to you though, don't send the lunch meeting link to your significant other. My wife asked me one time, she said, hey babe, you want to go have lunch sometime next week? I was like, sure, I'm going to text you the link to my lunch meeting calendar. You what? Is what she said. So, word of advice from experience, you can schedule that manually with your significant other. So the next thing I started to look at was, where else am I spending a lot of my time? It was email. This is actually a screenshot of my wife's email badge of the unread messages in her Gmail account. Yeah. How many? I hear a few people like, so I first heard this term a little while back. It's called email apnea. Do any of you suffer from sleep apnea? You know that? Yeah. So that gasp for air, right? When you wake up, when you get back from lunch, or you're trying to unwind from the day and you look at your email. I Googled email apnea, and there's a medical definition for it. Email apnea is the temporary cessation of breath when we're in front of a screen, especially when texting or doing email. And that was followed by, this chronic breath holding puts us in a state of fight or flight, affecting emotions, physiology, and attention. Wow, it's a pretty real statement, huh? Your email is one of the things that can really drain you the most. It's a necessity though, right? It's kind of the bane of my existence. But my ultimate goal in life would be to completely shut off my email, figure out how to put other systems in place, which I'm kind of working toward. One is SaneBox. Have anybody used SaneBox? Yeah, because I told you about it, huh, Doug? SaneBox is artificial intelligence that goes through your mailbox and it helps you sort things. So you've probably heard of the approach of successful people only check their email a few times a day, 2 or 3 times a day. And it's really hard, especially with our mobile phones and all that, and it's a hard habit to get into. This kind of forces you to do that. What it does is it'll take things and it'll put it into certain folders that you can go check on your own time. So like the Sane Later folder. It tries to figure out if something's not important and it puts it into that folder. Or the Sane News folder. It might be an email newsletter. It drops it into the Sane News folder and you can go look at all the newsletters at once. But what it's helping you do is increase your focus on what's actually important in your inbox by leaving the most important things that need your attention in the inbox. Sane Black Hole is one of my favorites. If you ever in the digital marketing world, we get emails all the time, usually from India, from people saying, hey, we want to do projects for you. Here's our skill set and what we can do. Sane Black Hole. You'll never hear from them again. I love the title of it too, right? You can create custom trainings too, so you want to customize this for how it will work best in your life.
Do you name the folders, or does it automatically have these folders that you pick from?
So it automatically has a lot of these folders like Sane Later, Sane News. I've created the 2 at the bottom called Sane Tickets and Sane Ticket Notes, meaning we have a ticketing system for our IT division, and those notifications go in there where I can go and look at all those, and I've trained it to work how I want it to work, and I've named it accordingly. So, yeah, a lot of great features. Another one that's not on this screenshot is the Sane No Replies. If I've sent an email to somebody and I need a reply from them, an answer for them, it'll stay in that Sane No Replies folder until they actually reply back to you. So you can go see what action items or what replies or am I waiting for other people. So, really neat software. You can try it for free. I have a link for it that I'll actually get like a free month if you do a trial. So that'll be kind of at the end. Look, I'm always about transparency and full disclosure, right? So, but we need to figure out how to better manage email and expectations with others on email as well, right? Email is so instant. So sometimes I feel like this. I'm sorry I haven't replied to your email, but I glanced at it, vowed to deal with it later, and now the very thought of even opening it fills me with crippling dread. But that's how we feel sometimes, right?
Yeah.
You know? So, and in Deep Work, Cal Newport talks a lot about how to handle email. Like, don't forward an email to somebody with a question mark. And that's all you're forwarding it to them with, or thoughts, question mark, right? Why don't you write out a little bit of dialogue for that person? Give them something to work with so they can reply back if you need something. So instead of saying question mark or thoughts, maybe say, hey, I looked into this and it seems like we might need to do A, B, or C to resolve this issue, but I wanted to get your feedback on that approach before I talk to the client. Something like that. Give your recipient something to work with. And then you won't feel like this when you open the emails, right? But yeah, like the instant gratification of email is one thing, but then it's like, how are we trying to manage our time and work and life with family and all that? There's that balance there that we need to try to achieve. And I think some people just have this unrealistic expectation of how quickly we should reply to things. Like this person. I emailed you 3 days ago, message this morning. Friday afternoon at 4:47, this person emailed me. They followed up at 8:15 this morning. 28 minutes. They emailed me 28 working minutes ago. Bye. Right? So let's all work together to if you need something immediate, call the person. That's the best way to get. I've told my team this. I've emailed this person 9 times to get an update on the project and what we're waiting on for them. I was like, have you tried calling them? No. Okay, pick up the phone. Let's dial the number right now. That person answered and gave them exactly what they need, right? So I think people appreciate a phone call if something is urgent, and if something's not urgent, that's an email. And don't get me started on text messages or Slack or Zoom chat or whatever other incoming means of communication you might have in your life, because we could be here all day. So then, what else could I do to further reduce my distraction? Our phones are amazing, but they can be overwhelming at times too. The average person, this is just the average person, gets between 65 and 80 phone notifications per day. As a business owner, high-level business professional, it's probably double, I would say. So we're getting all these notifications, whether it's your Amazon app saying that something's being delivered, or an email or a text. We're getting all these notifications and we're trying to do work, and our attention span is just shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. So in 2000, they estimated that the average human attention span was 13 seconds. The attention span of a goldfish is 9 seconds. They estimated in 2015, the average human attention span was 8 seconds. And now they're even talking about the average attention span of an internet user. And I use the internet all the time for work. The average attention span for an internet user is 3 to 5 seconds. So all these notifications, all these things coming at us, right? That's why I asked you to put your phone in do not disturb mode, right? Because you might have missed a key thing that might help you, right? That was my goal with that. I used to wear an Apple Watch, and I found this screenshot. It was pretty funny too, because first it says it's from Lauren, my wife's name. Wish you guys were here. You should see the view. And then the response is, me too, but then we'd be missing this riveting meeting. I thought that was kind of ironic to put in here. But I used to wear an Apple Watch. I don't really wear it anymore. I wear it to run, and that's about it. And this all kind of stemmed back from the story. The same person that told me about deep work pulled me aside one time at the office and said, Ben, I thought you always were just trying to figure out what time it was to see where your next meeting was or whatnot. And I thought about that statement, and I was like, man, I'm that distracted where as all these notifications come in and I'm checking my watch. And what was the most important thing that I determined from that conversation was my key employee there felt neglected. He felt like I wasn't giving him the attention that he needed. So even with my phone now, I try to if I'll go sit in an office, I'll leave my phone on my desk. If it's something important that we need to talk about, I want to give that person the undivided attention because they are a key employee in my company. They serve a purpose being an employee at my company, and I need to do my best to give them the attention that they need so that they can perform their best work. So I stopped wearing my Apple Watch. I might wear it again because I've started to find settings where I could turn off all those notifications now, but maybe I'll buy a nice watch one day, instead of an Apple Watch. Another really neat thing on the iPhone, you can go look at your screen time. So this is my screen time, I think, from a few weeks ago, and it tells you per day of the week how much time you spend on your phone. If you use a MacBook, it shows screen time there. I think PC's starting to do that, and I'm sure Android phones do it as well. And it shows the categories in which you're spending your time on the phone. Now mine's a little skewed because I use Waze every time I drive. I like to beat traffic. So travel shows up as 17 hours and 43 minutes last week, and I figured out that it's when I'm plugged into my car and I have it on my dash that it's counting that as screen time. I guess it technically is. But go into your screen time and look for ways that you might be able to reduce distraction by seeing where you're spending your time on your phone. Are you spending 7 hours a day on Facebook? Maybe let's set some app limits too. That's another thing that you can do. I want to limit myself to 1 hour a day on Facebook. Your phone will allow you to hold yourself accountable to that. So go in and look at that, and then also look at what's the first application you use after you pick up your phone. That's a pretty neat metric. If you're always going to Facebook first, like mine, I usually am on my laptop mostly, I guess. Or if you're going to Caesar Sportsbook, right, you might have a problem. You might need to address that. So go check, see where you're using your phone first by checking out this screen time. And if you get notifications that you no longer want to see, swipe left on it, and you can turn it off, you can mute them. There's a lot of really neat things, and Apple and all these other developers, they are starting to understand that we need to better our screen time and increase our focus. So you can have these notifications turned off or muted. I've pretty much muted all my notifications. Remember this icon? I've even turned off my badges. Now go look at your phone and see how many badge numbers you have. So this little red bubble with a number in it means there's something inside of it that needs your attention, right? So turn them off. I mean, that's almost like email. It's pre-email apnea, right? Before I even go in my email, I have 160,000 emails, Turn off those badge icons. And another thing, don't be scared to mute conversations for groups of people or certain people. I once got 130 text messages in one day from a single person. Now, we had a pretty big opportunity going on in our business, but it started at 7 o'clock in the morning and ended at 6 p.m. at night, and I'm sitting at my kitchen counter and I'm like, why do I feel so stressed out today? And there was all the other work stuff going on, and I went back and I looked at my text message thread with her and I counted. And I got 130 text messages from that person since 7 a.m. in the morning. I hit the info button and I hit hide alerts. And it's still set like that to that day. And I told her, I was like, if anything's important, please call me because I may not see your text right away. I didn't tell her I muted her. There's a good diplomatic way of telling somebody they've been muted. But you can mute the message. Yep. So you'll get no. You can mute. Yeah. I'm in a fantasy football group message.
And they won't know you muted them?
Nope. So there's another setting where you can, if we're in do not disturb mode or focus mode or whatnot, it's now starting to show up on the other person's end. So if they go to text me, they'll say, this person's in focus mode, right? So I love that they're able to see that now, and you can turn that off or on as well if you do or don't want them to see that. So it's all about really continuing to identify stress factors. And I know we're at 10:18, probably got another 5-6 minutes or so if y'all could hang tight for a minute. What are the other stress factors in your life? I've really started to focus on bettering my routines. I told you earlier, I'm not a good morning person. I stay up late. I'm a night owl. I've always been a night owl, right, Mom? I get my best work done at night. Heck, I even started this presentation, putting it together at 4 p.m. yesterday and finished it at 12:30 last night. You would have never noted if I wouldn't have told you that, though, right? But I like to sleep in sometimes. I don't like to stress. I used to stress and wake up at 5:30, get myself fully ready, get the kids ready, get them off to school, and head off to my first meeting sometimes between 8 and 8:30, but not with Calendly, not till 9, hopefully, right? So I started to change my routine. Any of y'all can relate to this? This is my good friend Adam, his wife. Their twin daughters. It's a staged photo, but it kind of sums up what some of our mornings look like. I'm taking care of my twins, I'm trying to iron my clothes, and I'm working on my emails, right? Does that feel like you sometime in the morning? The funny part is, about 4 years later, they had another set of twin girls. Yeah, all natural too, right? Yeah, no IVF or anything, yeah. Hi, Adam. So yeah. If you think you had a stressful morning, think about this picture of my buddy with his 2 sets of twin girls. But yeah, take control on things and do it on your own terms. I wanted my mornings to be on my own terms. So nowadays, school starts next Tuesday. I'm out at the bus stop in Lululemon shorts and a running shirt. And my focus is to make sure they're fed and got all their stuff packed for school and on the bus. And then I might go sit at my desk at my house, might do about 30 minutes of work, and then get myself together. And when I started that, I started to feel a lot better. I felt more productive through the day because my day didn't start in a world of stress by just trying to be as completely prepared as possible. So don't, take those things into consideration on your morning routines. If you're like my wife, she likes to go to Regimen Fitness at 5 a.m. every morning, so she's up at 4:30 and she hits the gym. No, not for me. Not for me either. So I'm still asleep when she gets back. Identify bottlenecks in your company or in the work that you do and single points of failure. How many things stop because of you? How many things simply won't happen because of you? I started to focus and identify on these areas, create these processes and these workflows and these automations, and I really wanted to create agility within the organization. The other thing that we also have to come to terms with is employee absenteeism. I hope that most of you and your companies have adopted the mindset of being flexible and compassionate when it comes to absenteeism. It used to bug the crap out of me. I used to hate it because it was a stress factor in my life. Oh, an employee's out, I'm gonna have to drop all the things that I had planned for the day to help fill in for them being out. And they used to stress me out. But now by creating some good processes and putting things into place, we can have a system for when somebody's out, even if it's unexpected. And we want to make sure from an employee retention perspective, be compassionate and flexible because there are the Great Resignation, and if y'all went through that, there's always another job that's going to offer that to your employees and maybe even for more money, right? So you need to keep that part of your culture intact. Don't let the absenteeism bother you. Creating process, workflows, automations, all really important. You need to sit down, time block some time to figure that out. And then figure out how to say no better. Or at least not at this time. That's what I started. I hated saying no to people. I want to be a pleaser, right? I always want to help others as much as possible, and I had problems saying no. So I started to say, not at this time. It's not as finite as no, right? Somebody asked me if I can help them with something. Now's not really a good time for that. Here's why, right? So I think in 2020, we really need to start normalizing even saying no without needing to over-explain yourself. If someone is offended by your boundaries, that's their problem. Keep your boundaries intact. Elon Musk recently said he was going to buy Twitter, and then he said he wasn't, and all that stuff. And a lot of people talk about that it was because of the millions of fake accounts. But there was this really neat article that talks about how he faced the true cost of saying no. It's oddly brilliant lesson in avoiding burnout. This article in Inc. magazine online talks about doing the things that recharge us, meaning say no to the things that don't. Every decision we make comes at the cost of something else, our time, our energy, and our focus. So every time you say yes, you're saying, hey, there's some more time, energy, and focus that I need to allocate to that. And it's truly making space for what matters. And also, you can't be everything to everyone. As a solopreneur, that's what I tried to be, but it just doesn't work that way. Set these niches, work with people that are easy to work with. Don't be afraid to tell people no, even if it might be a potential client. I started to think about all the things that I needed to do in my work, and I talked about doing what I do best, delegating what I don't, and deleting the things that aren't important. And I started to adopt this mindset, and then I Googled it, and it's actually called the Eisenhower matrix, and where you categorize things on importancy and urgency. So you do the task with deadlines or consequences, like not being able to present because I didn't finish my PowerPoint presentation on mental wellness. Things that are not urgent, schedule them, and eventually they'll get on your do list. Tasks with unclear deadlines, but they contribute to long-term success. Delegate. Those are the tasks that must get done, but don't really require my specific skill set. And then delete. Delete all distractions and unnecessary tasks from your life, from your work, from your company. It all boils down to sustainability and scalability and keeping that in mind. So we can't say yes to everything. It's not sustainable or scalable. Can't be everything to everyone. Not sustainable or scalable. Can't be always on. Right? That's another thing that I have to work on. I have to always be on. A few weeks ago, I went to a fundraiser, Celebrity Waiter, for a Children's Advocacy Center. The next day, I flew out to my wife's work in Baltimore for a retirement party. I was on for 2 nights straight for a fundraiser and mingling and networking, and then also being introduced to my wife's coworkers. And I remember getting back that Friday, and I was like, "Ooh, I need to kind of decompress here." So don't think you always have to be always on and part of everything. And then finally, your physical wellness. Prioritize your physical wellness because it goes hand in hand with your mental wellness. I love to run marathons for some reason. 26.2 miles. Does my first marathon that I ran in 4 hours and 56 minutes, crossing the finish line. Thank you, I'm done. But it's really the training that goes into it. I trained for 18 weeks, probably ran over 400 miles during that training. I like to run after work. It allows me to leave all my stress on the concrete and allows me to focus on my family better whenever I'll walk back through the door. I've left the work on the road. I've left the stress on the road. I'm now ready to be a dad and a husband, right? So important, use your physical wellness, even if it's just taking a walk around the block or taking a bike ride or a punching bag. Punching bags are fun. That can really relieve some stress. We have punching bags at Regimen down the road. If anybody ever wants to do a workout with me, come join me. It's great. It's fun. That was my 100th workout towel that I got. I go like 3 to 4 times a week, and that's part of my physical wellness regimen, right? So prioritize your physical wellness as well. So what's next? Normally, this is the time in the presentation where I'd actually try to sell you something. I've built so much value, I'm trying to sell you something. I've done digital marketing presentations before. I've done IT presentations. I've done lots of presentations, and I usually want to try to sell something at the end. That's the salesperson in me. But I'm not here to sell you anything today. If you feel like you could use some IT services or digital marketing, or you have a kid or know a kid that could benefit from coding and wants to go to Code Ninjas, great, reach out to me. But that's not why I'm here. Biggest thing is I love referrals for speaking opportunities on this. I hope you have one key takeaway that will help reduce the stress in your life. That is my goal for today. So if you know any organization that might want me to come speak, this is the first time I've really drilled down into the tactics of what I do for this. That'd be a great referral for me. I'd love to speak more on this. I feel like it's a calling for me, right? But really what's next is we need to create dialogue on this subject. We need to talk to one another about it. We need to support each other when it comes to our mental well-being. We need to not be afraid to seek help. And we need to realize we're not alone. Thank you very much. So I have some resources on some of the things that I touched on, Calendly, SaneBox. If you go to benmarcel.com, it's a landing page with a lot of resources. Deep Work by Cal Newport, if you want to get the thing to do the raffle. If anybody hasn't put your card in the raffle thing. I actually didn't talk about this. I was going to insert it somewhere, but a TED Talk called Inside the Mind of a Master Procrastinator. That sounds like you. You need to go watch that TED Talk by Tim Urban. But there's a lot of great resources too. Big Orange Heart, it's an organization that promotes well-being and mental health support for remote workers. And I think we're all kind of considered remote workers at this point, but go check out their website. And this is something new. You can dial 988 anytime. If you're finding yourself in trouble, don't be afraid to dial it. Ready?
You ready?
Yep. Mom, you want to pull the winner of the book?
My name's not in it.
Denise Crafasi. Oh, yeah. Cool.
All right, awesome. My email is here, my personal email, not my work one, ben@benmarcel.com. So feel free to reach out. If you go to benmarcel.com, it's a landing page with my profile and everything. I've added a block there called mental wellness presentation feedback. If you would take a moment, if you want any more information about this, if you want to stay up to date on the things that I'm doing to help promote mental wellness, one day soon, Michaela, benmarcel.com will be a mental wellness resource for business professionals, but until that time comes, it's not. But if you go to benmarcel.com, there's a feedback form. Any feedback on how I've presented this, anything that I've helped you with today, a key takeaway, something important that you learned, something that I didn't do good, I'm open to all kind of feedback, or if you want any more information about anything, feel free to fill that out and I'll go and check on it. But I appreciate y'all staying, way past the time that we had allotted. And again, thank you.
Thank you.
Or if y'all want a part 2 of this, put that in the feedback.
Part 2 in a couple months. I mean, you guys, you paid to be a part of this event. I mean, you're welcome to mingle and stay as long as you want. But if you need to leave, you're welcome to leave.
You're dismissed.
You are dismissed. Thank you all for being here. We do have brochures, business cards. Grab whatever you might want to from the front table as well. Thank you guys.